بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين. All praises to Allah. We send peace and salutations upon Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back to Deen Dawn. It is time for the morning message, and the morning message for today, inshallah, we'll get a special morning message from a special guest. He's coming all the way from Durban to Cape Town studio and is giving us, inshallah, a beautiful message. We have our dear brother Hassan Muhammad. Hassan Muhammad is the director of Youth for Palestine. Assalamu alaikum, Hassan.
Wa alaikum salam, and it's a pleasure to come down to the studios to give this little message to people on these days.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and accept from you, Hassan. And we have an incident that is Youth Day.
Yes.
And so we thought maybe Hassan can give the youth some advice, inshallah, and I'm sure you can give some advice. In the beginning, Hassan, describe the situation, the current situation of the youth of the Ummah, especially when it comes to big cases like the case of Palestine. What do you say?
You know, the situation of the youth across the globe is very diverse. We have youth that are in war-torn areas, that are oppressed, that take to daily life very differently than our youth.
True.
They're fighting, they're out there trying to survive. Contrast to that, we have the youth in the West and all across the world who are living this life where they're consumed by their social media.
True.
Where they have become detached from religion as a whole. Not just Islam, but religion as a whole amongst all of our communities. And this is a very disappointing part because the youth themselves form such a part in achieving the targets and the goals of our future.
Mentioning that, subhanAllah, youth achieved they have a great vital role in shaping the future. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself said, "Nusirtu bil-shabab." I was giving victory and support through the youth.
Yes.
And you see so many youth in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and generally in the history of Islam, so many youth such as Usama ibn Zayd radiallahu anhu and Muhammad al-Fatih, the conqueror of Constantinople, and so many young people who, mashallah, had a great impact and did historical events. And even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he started da'wah at the age of 40. Subhanallah, this is the kamalul shabab, the age of perfection of youth. So Hassan, from your perspective, I see in some places, as you're saying correctly, that in Palestine, in some places, Syria, etc., if you see the youth, mashallah, it looks like tough times creates tough people. Right? But how can we affect our youth in our lands, in our countries, where they also be on the same page and the same level of interaction with the Ummah and interaction with the cases of the Ummah? Palestine is suffering, Myanmar is bleeding, Afghanistan. How can we get the Ummah involved? And mashallah, you already worked in so many other charitable organizations and you saw already the interaction of the youth. How can we inspire them to do that?
I think fundamentally you started off at the best point possible. Is that we cannot detach Islam into separate pieces.
Sahih.
It is a complete way of life. You know, there is no spiritual aspect that is different from governance, that is different from daily life,
Sahih.
that is different from economics. And where our youth is lost currently is that our teaching systems at some point lead us to believe that you are a good Muslim if you just praying your salah, you're keeping your fast, you're making an attempt for Hajj. It doesn't teach us about the merits of pondering the aspects of the Quran, of deriving lessons from there that affect us in our daily lives. And with that, it becomes inclusive. So we are losing our youth to these ideas of fragmentation. In the golden age of Islam, Islam thrived. Much of the success of this world, from medical facilities like hospitals, these were derived from Muslim scholars. The very devices we use, the camera I'm talking to you through, the phone that we're using, are all based on something called algorithms. And algorithms are Arabic in nature. People forget this.
Al-Khwarizmi.
Yeah, Khwarizmi, he was the first. Without this input, a Muslim, a young Muslim scholar who pondered thoughts and the Qurans and the questions of how and why, none of the devices we have would be available. So what we've done is we have separated the daily life from this, well, spirituality. And I think the way back is to bring that in, is for our mothers and our fathers to learn and read and understand the Quran in ways that it will inspire children to ask more questions, to ponder what is right, what is affecting critical thinking.
You know, what you're saying is correct, subhanAllah. But what I'm trying to draw from your speech is that we can get them involved if we manage to let them understand Islam in totality as a way of life that enters into every single aspect of life. And youth in general, in their innate nature, subhanAllah, they like to change, they like to make a difference. And so unless we put them in that field and put them on the way of making a difference and changing, they will remain in their position and they get affected negatively.
Yes.
But when we are using them in a correct way, when we are using them in what they can do, they can make a change. By their nature, they draw to make change. So we need to put them in the way of making a change, getting them involved in Palestinian cases, in this case, in that case, in charitable work, in volunteering work, etc. They like to see this and they want to make a difference and they want to feel themselves. So we need really to, and you're joining my voice to your voice, we need for sure to make sure that our youth are occupied, our youth are empowered.
Yes.
To do the good work. Subhanallah. Jazakallah for this beautiful thought, Hassan. What else, or what is your direct message to the youth who don't find this happening, or maybe they don't know where to go or how to take the correct road?
An aspect of life that we often as Muslims say is trust in Allah's plan, to have tawakkul.
Yes.
This is something, is a direct message out to the youth, that this is not a fairy tale, this is not some story, this is the reality. You have to trust in Allah's plan. And so often now we found that there are many cases, there are issues facing our communities at large. There are issues of depression, of people having dissociative ideas. These concepts are because our kids are lacking in terms of trust in Allah's plan. So the message to the youth: find a cause. Find a cause that you want to align yourself with. There have been many before you, and there will be many after you that will define the role and history as you know it. Don't let yourself be apart from the history books. Be a part of change. Look at what's happening in the world around you. Find a cause, whether it is gender-based violence, whether it's Palestinian causes, whether it's a cause that is just feeding or taking care of orphans. These are causes. Find and be a part of it. Commit your time, commit your energy. Mothers, fathers out there, encourage your children. Take them to these events. It's the weekend, you want to relax, you've had a long day at work, but remember that how you mold these children will define the future that they live. So it is very, very, very important that there are many organizations out there. There are many ways to include children. You will have a tiered response to this. One, they will empower themselves. One, they will become better. They will also learn from it, but also it will take them away from ideas that deviate thought. Social media is a powerful tool, but it's also a disruptive tool. It's something that can take our children very, very far away. And scrolling on social media applications for hours at end is not a worth time. Our time is precious. It's a ni'mah from Allah, and we have to make sure that we do the most of it. So this is my message to the youth, find something to do. Be a part of change. History is not going to wait for you, and be remembered.
Subhanallah. Beautiful, beautiful and powerful message you gave, Hassan. Subhanallah. This reminded me, وَنَفْسَكَ إِن لَمْ تَشْغِلْهَا بِالْحَقِّ شَغَلَتْكَ بِالْبَاطِلِ. If you don't engage yourself in haqq, in truth, in deen, your soul will get engaged in the opposite side. Will get engaged in haram, in clubs, in dating, in this, in that. Get yourself involved. And you mentioned important point, the role of the family.
Yes.
Putting the children on the road, taking them, opening the doors for them. Just open the doors and they will go. And you connect them to this case, to that case, see what their inclination to, and push them towards this door or that door in order to help them, inshallah, to make a change. Make a change for the whole ummah, subhanallah. This reminded me of a short story on Muhammad al-Fatih himself, the conqueror of Constantinople, this great sultan that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke about, prophesied his coming, and he said that لَتَفْتَحَنَّ الْقُسْطَنْطِنِيَّةَ فَلَنِعْمَ الْجَيْشُ جَيْشُهَا وَلَنِعْمَ الْأَمِيرُ أَمِيرُهَا. He said, you're going to conquer Constantinople, which is Istanbul currently, and that army that's going to conquer Constantinople is the best army, and that leader who's going to be the leader of that army, or the leader of the ummah at that time, will be the best leader, referring to Muhammad al-Fatih. So when Muhammad al-Fatih read that hadith as a child, he read it as a child. So he said, I'm going to be that person. Remember that so many companions of Rasulullah ﷺ before him, they tried to conquer Constantinople, but Allah didn't ordain for them to. And so many companions, actually, they are buried by the walls of Constantinople, Istanbul.
Yes.
But they couldn't. Allah ordained that child who grew up dreaming. This hadith affected him to the extent that he dreamt of conquering Constantinople. I'm going to be that one. And he planned for it. At the age of 19, he took the army, when he came to power, he took the army and they headed towards Constantinople to conquer Constantinople. The point that I wanted to make here is the importance of reading, the importance of getting yourself culture, opening your mind. How reading affected you and will affect so many of our youth when they get more culture and more reading and read some kitabs that will reshape their mentality.
This is something we've lost.
Yes.
Because so much of us now are visual based. We want to see videos, even our lectures and our podcasts are audio. But reading shapes your mind.
Sahih.
It imprints you, and it develops neural pathways in your mind that will have long effects. And this is what is critical. You're saying, I think probably the best part of our discussion is that mothers and fathers, please get your children to read more. And there is so much of literature out over there, and this can only be beneficial for them.
Sahih, subhanallah. Hassan, wallahi, we want to speak more and more and more, but our time lapsed. But Jazakallah khairan for joining us this morning, giving beautiful advices and tips to the youth. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to benefit us from it and benefit others as well from it. Shukran for joining us for this short time. Allah accept from you. Barakallah feek. All the best for you, inshallah, in your journey.
Jazakallah khair. It was a pleasure being on with you.
Shukran jazeelan, Hassan. Jazakallah khair al-jaza. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. Allahumma ameen. We came to the end of the segment of our program, the morning message for today. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.